I'm not there.
Hi, my name is Amanda. I'm here today at Jody's Bomber Shop. I was here last season to actually buy some bombers off him to use for the season up to Labrador. And I actually had great success with the one he's going to show me today. So Jody, how do you begin? How do you tie your bombers?
So, well, you tie the thread onto the hook, same as a wet fly. And I brings it back to the center.
Okay.
And your calf tail, you hold it in your hand backwards so that you don't have a lot of wastage. And number 2 hook, you pull up a fair chunk of calf tail, cut it off.
Okay.
And everybody wants to know how I get them so straight. It got nothing to do with the calf tail. It got to do with the hair straightener. Okay. So you see how curly it is? 2 passes or 3 passes in the hair straightener.
Works wonders.
Well, it does wonders. And then I just takes it, well, you get the under fur pulled out. I puts it in my lip gloss case. I give it 4 or 5 taps on something hard. Pull it off, and it should be perfectly straight. Take it out. So the reason I brings it back to the center of the hook, you cut off the excess on the end so it's nice and square end. You put it up to the vise. Like this. So the end of your thread, take your first loop around, see how loose it is?
And then tie tight.
And then you go a couple of wraps around, tight.
Okay.
You bring it right down to the point of the hook. Now everybody does them different. I'm sure of that.
And so you started with the center of your
Yes, in the
okay,
center of the
catch
hook.
it, yep.
And I lift this up, puts it under, goes around there. And I has my hackle pre-picked. It's all done out. Put the hackle underneath there, tie it on. Then when you get to the end here where it's still loose calf tail, you just cinch it down and you bring your thread up, but leave enough room for your head of your fly. And I just tucks that in there in the back of it.
Okay.
And then your wing or your head of your fly, whatever he wants to call it.
And so for this, do you use the same amount as you do?
You
on
try.
the side? Okay.
You try as best you can. Pull out the under fur. I'm sure he knows how to work a hair straightener.
I
right?
do.
Then you just put it in. And all this is a chapstick. I cut the top
Nothing
off
fancy.
it. Nothing fancy. And it's a lot easier than a hair stacker. I got them in there.
Yeah?
There's no moving parts to it. There's nothing going to fall apart on you. There's nothing going to fall. The hair stacker's not going to come apart in a swing and fall on the ground and you're going to lose your wing. Now I took that out backwards accidentally. I should have took it out the other way, but there's no odds. Turn it around and you pick out how long you want your wing to be.
Okay.
So on a number 2 bomber, he says the length of your wing from here to here and your tail should equal the hook shank. That's what they say.
Okay.
Now, some people likes a long wing, some people likes a short wing. And don't worry if the wing, this one's not going to do it, but sometimes the wing will go down around the bottom. It'll twist on you. You can twist it back.
Okay.
So then I brings the thread down, almost to the other end of where I'm
Off
at.
the tail. Okay.
Pick it up, cut it off. And then you get a nice clean joint in the middle. You bring your thread all the way back to the bottom. Okay? Now, for the bomber, we'll tape up the wing after. We'll put some Scotch tape on it. I put tape on the wing after.
Hold it back. Yeah. I love this color combo too. The blue and orange.
I always squares it up. And the rule of thumb is you never put it to the hook. So what Wally taught me was you never put it on the hook if you're going to have to cut it off.
Okay.
So you put as less as possible to the hook that you need. So when I tie his number 2 bombers, now I leave it a little bit there, right? Just cinch it down, pick it up, cut it off.
Okay.
Now, normally, if I was doing this sitting down, I would reuse the deer hair.
yeah.
If it was long enough,
Okay.
I'd take it and I'd reuse it for the next cut, or I'd pick up 2. So the deer hair is there, so it's not a very big bomber. It's not, the deer hair is not like a big poof.
No.
If I had to leave that on. I hose the tail in the hackle, just in case. You don't have to, it's not going to go nowhere. And look, I'm not using no pressure, look, 2 fingers.
Spins itself. Okay.
And that's the quality of the deer hair. Now when I brings the thread around, you see that it's barely going around. And on the next pass, I'll show you, if you're spinning the bomber, sometimes the deer hair will keep spinning around the hook.
Yep.
So I'll show you how I stops that. And that was actually from John Scott who showed me that one, that trick. So I takes a bit of tape, and it's not because I'm afraid I cut the wing off. It's to do with your comment. Look at the size of the hands on them. And when I gets up to the top, you'll understand why I tapes the wing.
Yeah.
It's just, all it's doing is keeping it out of my way.
Yep.
So I takes off another piece. I squares it off. Now, if you watch the thread, okay, you see my first pass? Now watch where I puts my second pass.
Right back. Okay.
Okay, do you know what? So the reason
Why do you do that?
The reason I put it behind, now look, when I pulls it 2,
It compresses.
the 2 pieces of thread goes together, but it forms a knot. They're crisscrossed each other.
Okay, cool.
So it forms a knot inside there. So when I goes to pull this and spin it around the hook, it's not going to go all the way around the hook and keep spinning. It's going to stay right where it's meant to be on the hook. And you'll know sometimes when you do it, and you forgets to do it, and you goes to spin the deer hair, it'll just keep spinning around the hook and it won't stop.
No.
And then you just gotta take it off and go again.
Yeah. And same with the
Every time.
Okay.
Now, if you're not sure when you first start, like I know this bomber is 90% of the time there's going to be deer hair everywhere.
Oh yeah.
So if not, this is why it gets the wing tape down. I puts my thumb on the back of the bomber.
Yep.
And I just gives it a little push. And I make a couple of turns in the front to clean it up. So now you wonder how people get skittles and bees with straight lines.
Yeah.
That's how he does it.
Push it back.
You push well, not pushing it back, but you use the thread to give him a straight line to start.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So you always got a straight line to start with.
And now I'm curious, like how much room do you leave, like at the head?
At the head of the fly, I'll show you there now. People wonder why you charge extra for a number 2 bomber. You figure it out yet?
Yeah.
It takes about 3 deer to make one.
I was gonna say it's a lot of material.
Now, my last one I cuts really close down.
So you got pretty much right up to the head, okay.
Right to the top of the bomber. Right to the eye. Makes a couple of turns on the back. Pick up the head, make 1 loop. That's it.
Yeah, it was a good idea that you got it all taped together because it keeps it all.
See?
Yeah,
Now I can
it's
use
so
one
much better.
finger.
Yeah.
I just find it easier. Like my buddy Wally does this, and Wally, he's 38 years doing it. He don't need it. He just does it for a joke. So I use Tiemco scissors. Everyone knows. Everyone told me I'd never own a pair, but I got a couple of them.
Yeah, they're nice.
Straight ones you can buy, you can still buy. These ones here were gold.
So they're for the trimming, the curved ones.
Yeah.
Okay.
So now, how I trims the bomber, I hose the bomber. Now, I'll take the bomber in your fingers. I pulls up under there here to fluff it up.
Okay.
So it should be stood up.
Yep.
Now, number 2, hopefully I can trim this without making a mess. I starts with the scissors up against the eye of the hook. Your first cut is going to give you the shape of your bomber.
Okay. Now, when you're doing that, are you pressing down like, or are you just going straight across? You know what I mean?
You put a little bit of pressure on it.
Yeah.
You'll figure that like, the more you tie, the more bombers you tie, the more pressure you'll know.
You'll get used to it.
Right? Like now there's still ridges on this, obviously. But your first cut, every cut after your first cut, if you look at that, my first cut sort of dictated every other cut. Now there's ridges on it.
Yeah.
So your blade of your scissors that's coming in don't want to. They're not going to go higher or lower than your. They'll go higher, but they won't go lower than your first cut. Turn the bomber over, and then you do this part by eye. You trim off what you can.
Now I'm also wondering where those scissors are curved. How do you know to put the curve down or facing up? You know what I mean?
What do you mean?
Like you got the curve facing up, so how do you know how to do that instead of, if I were first time tying? You got the curve face up and not down.
The curve is always down towards the bomber.
That's when you're trimming, okay. I was curious about that.
You'll never do it this way because then you're cutting the deer hair this way.
Yeah, okay.
Okay? So to clean up the butt of the fly, it's not a huge secret. It just goes around, trims it off. But if you notice, I has the scissors on an angle up against it, so I'm actually shaping the butt of the fly as I do it. And what I does, I holds up my hand where I got big hands, and I starts, and I'll trim it down. And as I'm trimming it, I cleans it up as I'm going, right?
And what's your preference of bombers? Do you normally go like cone shaped or like consistent right across? Like what's your preference?
I spent 3 hours one night with a fella dictating the shape of my bombers. And then he said the fish didn't care.
True.
So,
So why
most
bother?
of my bombers are shaped, I guess, like a cigar.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm guessing that's what you would call it.
Yep.
So then I goes along. Remember I was showing you about the last piece of deer hair I put on?
Yep.
So that's the head of it. You just trim that up a bit. Now I'd spend a couple of minutes going around this bomber version number 2 to get the lines, every line out of it, and it's just a little bit of OCD I got.
But remember, the fish don't care.
No, fish don't care.
They don't care, no?
So then you put it back in the vise as best you can. All right. I only use them for deer hair, that's it.
Just the trimming, okay.
So then I use either Uni or Vivas, whatever thread you got there, 6/0 or 8/0.
Okay.
Doesn't really matter on a big bomber what you're putting on it. I starts right there, I holds up my fingers, I puts 1 rep, 2 reps behind the head. I lifts it up, 1, 2, 3 in front.
Okay.
All right. Now, 9 chances out of 10 this hackle's going to bust. You know that, right?
Oh yeah, it happens.
Okay. So you take the bomber, you take the hackle, and everyone laughs. He says that Jody only puts 5.5. That's what they say. Everyone does it different. But if you're tying commercially or tying for yourself, 5.5 turns. So there's 1. There's 2. There's 3. There's 4. There's 5. There's your half.
Just enough, yeah.
Down around the back. You go 1 around the top. Now I can let it go. It's not going to go nowhere because it's caught. So then what I do is I picks up the thread in my hand. I pulls this straight off the front.
Around the eye, okay.
Okay, so now to secure the hackle so it's not going to come off, I goes 5 reps in the front. I pulls the hackle back. I does 5 reps backwards under it.
That's going to secure it, yeah. Oh,
And then you pull it off. Then it's gone. Then I takes the thread with the whip finisher. 2, 3. Pull. 1, 2, 3, 4. I does 1 more either at the beginning or less. I don't know why. But like if you weren't here, I does mental counting in my head. And you put head cement on it, but you don't need to. And that there will stand up and hunt for you all day long. Every bomber you tie, I know at the beginning it's going to be hard for you. Ken calls them, when he says stand up and salute, every one of them will stand up.
Stand up if you know you done well. Yeah.
They should stand
Yeah.
up.
Cool.
Now, a number 2 bomber is hard to get to stand up because it's just so heavy.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like I've had number 2 bombers that hover. The hook is not even touching the voice, but the reason that is because the hackle is a little bit longer
Yeah.
than it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
They always say your hackle should be no further than the point of your hook.
I can see it too.
You see
Yep,
it?
Yep. That sounds
So,
perfect.
so when your bomber is floating downstream,
Yep.
your bomber is not actually floating on the deer hair. It's floating on the hackle.
I didn't know that.
So when you're in a smooth pool like this, your bomber is actually going down the river like that. So the base of the pin of your hook is in the water, and it's
Just
coming
floating
down on that. And when the salmon comes up to take it, it's game over.
That's cool.
Well, unless it's me fishing them, I only fished them twice, and I missed twice, and I took it off, and then I caught him with a nimbus. So
I'll tell you what, that gave me some success last year. I'm telling you, that's a nice fly.
you can have that one
Yeah.
again for more success.
Keepsake.
Now,
Yeah.
would you like to tie one?
I would love to learn how to tie one because this is cool. I gotta say, watch.